So you can go to the Philippines, have a few days, and then come back into Taiwan and have your exempt visa or visa exempt stay renewed again. Your 30-day or 60-day or 90-day visa exempt visa waiver into a work permit, and once you have a work permit you can get your ARC, which is your Alien Residence Certificate, and you can do what you want in terms of tourism, meeting friends, finding a place to live, or finding a job. Now, before we have to do anything else, we have to look at what kind of visa you need to get to Taiwan and what kind of visa is specific for your needs and eligible to you, okay? There's many different visas, but also there are many ways how to get here, and let's say some examples of people work in the system. To start with, the two main visas are the Taiwan Visitor Visa for short stays and the Taiwan Resident Visa for longer stays. Now, the Taiwan Visitor Visa is like your tourist visa, okay? So many countries get 90 days free entry. Now, you have to check for your country, for your passport, nationality, how many days you are able to come in on the tourist visa, okay? So all of the application for that is down below, and you can even apply for some countries online for the e-visa as well. And look, it's normally ready between 2 to 5 working days for it to be processed, with a single entry being from around $50 and a multiple entry from around $100. Now, there are ways to actually renew it and extend the visa. But look, if you come in here to work or to settle, 3 months for some people is normally long enough. But anyway, we're going to go into the other resident visas now and the different options you have. And then I'm going to split them up visa by visa type so you can focus in and really try and get onto the one which is going to work out for you. Onto the Taiwan resident visa now, and through this module, we will be looking at the Taiwan work visa issued to foreigners who want to get paid employment in a Taiwanese company. In addition to a work visa, you also need a work permit. Then we'll look at the Taiwan student visa for foreigners who wish to join in some kind of studies in a Taiwanese educational institution, universities, colleges, schools, it could be language schools. Before applying, you must be accepted into the actual school or university. Taiwan family visa, which is for nationals who want to join a family member who are already here. So look, that might not be applicable, but still it's an option. The Taiwan entrepreneur visa, which is issued to foreigners who want to set up a business. So I'll go through all that. This is a way how to get residency here, okay, through the entrepreneur visa. So foreigners who want to set up a business here in Taiwan, basically this is an initiative from the Taiwanese government to try and bring more foreign entrepreneurial minds into the country, okay? People are here doing it now, and they're not necessarily running a massive business either, okay? But I'm going to, like I said, I'll go into more detail about it very soon. And then there's a Taiwan working holiday visa, okay? So this is for people who are aged from 18 to 30, which allows you to work for up to 1 year, okay? Now, within that 1 year, you can work, which is a great benefit, because then from there, you can look into getting your residency after the 1 year period. But again, I'll go into more detail afterwards. And then finally, there's some kind of digital nomad visa. Although Taiwan doesn't have a digital nomad visa, this visa is called the Taiwan Employment Gold Card. Now, this is open for people to come and work here and gain residency, a resident permit for skilled professionals. So I'll go through this with a list full of skills that you need to be to qualify, or you need to prove that you earn, just off the top of my head before I go into it, over 5,000 USD a month. Okay, but again, we're going to go into a deep dive of all of these, starting with the top one right now. As you can see, there is a huge list of countries who don't require a tourist visa or a visa to get into the country of Taiwan. Now, this is good news. And to be honest, everyone who can get into the country for free, and this actually saves a lot of hassle, because if you are one of the countries who are not exempt, you have to go through the correct visa. So you have to say if you're going there to job search, or if you're going there as a tourist, which means you can't job search. However, if you are exempt, which is this section, it does save a lot of hassle, because you go there, you get your stay for 14, 21, or 30 days or 90 days, and you can do what you want in terms of tourism, meeting friends, finding a place to live, or finding a job. Now, with this, look, you may be not as fortunate as other nationalities or passport holders, and you may only be able to stay for 2 weeks. However, you can leave the country and then come back in again, where it will renew again. And people can continue to do this for 3 to 5 years. And look, if one of your main aims is to settle here, if you can't settle and find a job within a year or 3 months, then you're really doing something wrong. And this is the guide which is going to help you to do it within 3 months. Okay, hopefully a lot of it depends on you as well. So if you do have to leave the country to renew, look, a flight to the Philippines is only £90, okay? So £100 sometimes. Now, around 4,000 NT dollars. So you can go to the Philippines, have a few days, and then come back into Taiwan and have your exempt visa or visa exempt stay renewed again. Hey, thanks for watching so far. Just a very quick break. I want to tell you something. If you're thinking about making a move to Taiwan, or you've already come to the country and you're already here, you're looking for an apartment, you don't know how to rent an apartment, you don't know how to find a job, you don't know how to read contracts, you don't know where to look, how to call the agents, landlords, all the details you need for starting a new life in Taiwan, you need to visit my website, helpfulmatt.com or mattwardconsulting.com. That's mattwardconsulting.com. Go on to the Taiwan placement section and you will see the packages I offer for helping you to move into an apartment. There's no hidden costs, all the costs are in there, and it's a massively affordable service which is being used by foreigners alike who are moving into the country and already here in the country now. Don't get left behind, don't get lost at the airport and stuck with nowhere to go. Give me a shout, give me a call. You can email me at matt@mattwardconsulting.com. Okay, back to the video. The reality is, once you are here, so for example, with my British passport, I can come here for 90 days. Once I get here, if I'm wanting to settle here, then I'm already going for job interviews and looking for a job. Now, rightly or wrongly, some companies will hire you without a degree, but we're going to go into all these technicalities later on, but without a degree or without qualifications. Some people or companies will know that you are only here on a tourist visa, and they will help to transfer that onto a work permit and residency, which I'll go into again in later sections. So the first thing you have to worry about is getting your feet on the ground, which this type of visa exempt stay will allow you to do. You can get into the country. You can even rent an apartment, okay? Yes, you can't sign a contract fully, but there are ways around it. I'm going to go into this in the housing and accommodation section later on in the guide. But there's ways around it where you get in and stay. You don't have to spend money on expensive hotels, okay? So get your visa exempt, get into the country, feet on the ground, and start to settle. Use this guide as a step-by-step process. The details are in a link here, so it shows you which countries can get in on visa exempt, and then just find out how many days you can stay for and start your life from there. You're going to have this guide to follow step by step, so it's going to cut out a lot of worries that you may have before reading through this guide. Let's get stuck into it. If you are not from a visa exempt country, unfortunately, it's a little bit more complicated, not super complicated, but you do have to give more evidence in terms of if you're going there as a tourist, then you may have to put your location of where you're staying and may have to list some landmarks as destinations. What are you going to actually be visiting or being a tourist of? Okay. You may also have to provide and show evidence of an onward ticket to show that you will be leaving the country. So that may be a return ticket as well. If you're going in as a visitor visa for job seeking purposes, you also have to show some kind of evidence that you have had employment previously before, or that you have previously just graduated and you are prepared and ready to be looking for a job. So they just want to know that you're not going to be applying for a visitor visa, saying that you're searching for a job, but really you're just going to come here and try and live in Taiwan illegally. So you do have to provide extra evidence. The same if it's for business reasons. So you can also get a visitor visa for business meetings, business conferences, but again, you'll be expected to show evidence of such meetings and conferences. So all of the details are in the links I provided with extra information and a link to start your application online. Perfect. Go for it. Getting a work visa or work permit in many countries abroad, especially in Asia, can seem daunting and a little bit complicated. However, with Taiwan, there's a process of 3 main things which you need, which I've listed in the module here. All of these things are aiming towards getting your ARC, which is your Alien Residence Certificate. Your ARC enables you to basically live in the country. Now, after 5 years and certain other circumstances, you can turn that ARC, your Alien Residence Certificate, into a APRC, which is a Permanent Resident Certificate. And after you have your Permanent Residence Certificate, you can basically go out the country and come back as much as you want and do almost any job inside the country as well. But I will go more specifically into that kind of residency later on in this guide. Now, your work permit is provided to you by the Taiwanese company. You could have this ready and offered to you before you get into the country or after you get into the country. Now, if you are applying, let's just say, for example, for an international school job, most likely than not, they may be recruiting outside of the country, which means they will organize all of your work permit already. Now, once you got your work permit, you don't really need a Taiwan work visa because you've already got your work permit. If you're looking for a work visa, then it's transferred into a work permit. Okay, then you can get your ARC residency. But if the school or employer is doing it because you're on an expat, specialized expat package, or you're being recruited from abroad, normally this is already processed and they have their HR departments looking after you, which is great. However, you're probably looking at this guide because you're not part of that criteria. You're coming to Taiwan on your own and you need to try and do this process on your own as well, which is fine because as soon as you get into the country, you're job searching, you need to find an employer who's willing to actually process a work permit for you. And once they are, you can then turn your visa or your 30-day or 60-day or 90-day visa exempt visa waiver into a work permit. And once you have a work permit, you can get your ARC, which is your Alien Residence Certificate. Now look, rightly or wrongly, and I'm not saying to do this because it is deemed as illegal, but people do this, so take from that as you wish. People will find work and they will leave a country after their 30-day, 60-day or 90-day visa, and then they will come back in again. Now, is that maintainable? People do. People study and they still work, which is illegal, but they do that. So they're a student, but they still work. So they may be on a student visa for 1 year or 3 years. And look, they do maintain it. And then they find a way with the employer, they come to an agreement to turn it into a work permit. Most of the time, it is just showing that you're willing to stay, that you can be reliable, that you're already in a good relationship with the employer, and they're happy to use their funds, use their money to then start the process for you to get a work permit. If you turn up and you start working for someone illegally or without them processing the work permit, they can get fined. You can get ejected and blacklisted from the country. However, you may have to do it, or people think you may have to do that to strike up that relationship and trust between the employer and yourself, where they are ready to say, right, okay, we are now going to process a work permit for you. Okay, so you do have to be a little bit open-minded. People are doing this. It can be illegal. I'm not saying it's a good idea to do it, but people are doing it. Read the specific and more detailed information in this section, and it will also show you the links where you can apply for a work permit outside of the country as well. However, it's going to be a bigger process. I would suggest just getting into the country and doing your job searching whilst in country, because it's easier to network, to actually meet people face to face, and you've got a higher chance of finding a job unless you're going through the big expat or company or international school route. However, once they have applied for a work permit, then you can apply for a working visa, which means you're already out of the country. This is why just now I've said it's better to be in the country, because it cancels out that step. You're already there. The company then applies for a work permit for you, and then you're transferred onto that without being out of the country, without then having to apply and prove that you got a work permit. Get yourself in country. There isn't a work permit application you can fill out, because only your prospective or future employer can apply for a work permit for you. There are a range of different student visas, which is why it's really important to read through the information in the link provided in this section. You need to see what kind of student visa is going to suit you. And look, some people generally want to come to Taiwan to study a degree or a master's degree or PhD or even Mandarin. You can, on that point, you can join different Mandarin schools with different duration of courses. It might be a 6-month course, it might be a 3-year intensive course, and each of these options will give you a different type of visa and give you different rights depending on the visa. However, there are people, again, stretching the rules slightly, who don't really want to come to study, but a student visa allows them to get residency in the country for them to actually then work. This may be a route for people who haven't got a degree yet and who are looking to make money from coaching or teaching as well. And then after they finish the degree or qualifications or actually studying here, they can then get a job. Now, when people do this, allegedly, and what I've heard, is they may enroll on the minimum required student visa or language learning center course, which gives them residency or permanent residency. Okay, so it may be, for example, 16 hours a week, which you have to actually go into the classroom and be there studying. And that allows you to stay and renew your visa. But like I said, look in the details in this actual step, and you'll get all of the information you need for the different student visas. As another example, some people may be a student, but they may be working part-time or as a freelancer for a school, an English school, or a basketball or football or soccer coaching company. Now, is this legal? No, because the chances are you won't have a work permit because you're on a student visa. However, people do it. It is being done. It has been done in the past. Do I recommend breaking the law? I do not. I'm just providing you information and examples of what's already been done here. Also, as legal examples, there are people who finish their studies. I've got a lot of friends from different continents, different countries, who then go on to get full-time employment after they finish their study. And if you are from different countries such as India or the continent of Africa, some people may be worried that they're not eligible to get a job. You are, if you're a good enough person, a good enough candidate, you've got the right qualifications, and you've already studied and lived in the country for a number of years, you are able to get employment here in a Taiwanese company, which is where learning the language would come in very handy as well. The entrepreneur visa allows you to set up or apply to set up a business
from outside of Taiwan, or you can actually apply within the country and set up the business within the country. Now, the benefits of this visa is that it does give you 1 year's residency. Now, there are ways to increase it or get more years, but a lot of people, now again, this is a loophole I've heard people using, will come to Taiwan, they will get the visa which gives them a year residency, and then they will set up the kind of business which is some kind of consultancy, and then just work in the country. So that enables you to work in the country and then charge people as a consultancy, which means that you're making money for your company, which means it's registered in Taiwan, and you can then renew it again and you get your residency. Now, there are ways as well to get your permanent residency here if you've been doing so for a certain amount of years. Now, I'll go into more detail of the type of businesses you could set up and what you generally need later on in this guide. Remember, like always, to read the information of the link here, what's in this section, because it will be very detailed and important for you to read. I just wanted to share there a bit of a loophole which I've heard people allegedly using. So you may not have to come here with a business ready in mind. It could be consultancy business, okay? But of course, just have business plans and certain strategies and evidence just in case, because you will have to provide evidence when you're applying as well. They may ask you for evidence of funding as well. The Gold Card Digital Nomad Visa. So basically, it's not a digital visa because that doesn't really exist, but the Gold Card, as it is known in Taiwan, is my favorite because it gives you from 1 year to 3 years residency here in the country to allow you to work remotely, but also it allows you to work for a Taiwanese company or a range of Taiwanese companies, or even start your own enterprise, your own company. And it's such a flexible process because all you need to do is show evidence that as a digital nomad or a freelancer, you are currently making over or minimum of 5,700 US dollars. Look, that might seem a lot for some people if you're just starting out. But there is the other option if you are not making that much, to prove that you are a skilled worker under a big category of a skilled worker criteria which Taiwan accepts. Now, this ranges from sporting professionals, arts, technology, and also education. So there's a big diverse range of possibilities how you can apply with this visa, which in turn gets you residency here. And look, maybe this is just another Trojan horse, like many other visas, to get your feet on the ground here and actually get full-time employment whilst you're here, or opening your own business. So look, people use these visas and range of visas not to follow the visa they've applied for and stick to it, but just to use it to get them into the country and then transfer it over to a work permit perhaps, or even get their APRC, which is a permanent residency. The working holiday visa is exactly what it says in the title. Depending on which country you're from, you can come to Taiwan and work for 1 year. However, you have to read the information provided in this guide. You'll see the link. You have to read through carefully because different countries have different rules and different ages. Now, the age is primarily from 18 years old to 30 years old. Some countries allow you up to 36 years old. Other countries will only let you stay until the age of 26. Now, one of the main rules is when you apply, you have to first apply and state that your main reason for coming to Taiwan is to come on a vacation or holiday, and that finding a job and working here is just a secondary reason that you'll be coming to Taiwan, and something else you'll be doing whilst vacating here. Also, an important thing to note is you can only work for the same employer for 3 months. And depending on where you're from or which company it is, if it's an international company, there are different criteria of how long you can work for the same company as well, in terms of 3 or 6 months. Read through carefully so you can see what would be more ideal for your situation. But let's put it this way. Can we use this as a way how to get a permanent residency here? Absolutely. Now, in your time here when you're working for a company, the likelihood is, if you're a good worker and both parties are happy, the company can then transfer or start the process for an actual permanent work permit for you, which then will lead to you being able to apply for permanent residency, your ARC, your Alien Resident Visa. With this in mind, if you come here and you just mess around and play around and you're not really interested, then the likelihood is that the employer or the people you're working for will not apply for a valid work permit for you to transfer over. Okay, but once you are here, once you are working for them and both parties are very happy with you, the likelihood is, and you will find that the company will help you out in getting your work permit because they already have someone who's been working for them. They like you. Why wouldn't they? It will save them having to use more money and use more time and energy to then try and recruit somebody else. So if you are within this criteria in age and ability to get here, or if you can get here before you turn 31, it's a great way to find an employer. Then you turn 31, but they've already applied for a work permit for you. So it's a great route in to get your permanent residency. The family resident visa allows a spouse to move over to Taiwan to be with their other spouse. Now, this is a foreigner who's come to Taiwan, maybe settled here with a business or working here for a company, and they want to bring their family over, and you are the spouse of that person. They have a work permit, so you can come over and you can live on a joint family residency. Or in some cases, if your partner, for example, is a foreigner and they have a work permit already, in some cases you are able to get your own residency as well. But look, there's different rules to this. Read the information in detail and see which is best specific for you and your situation. It may be the point that your spouse isn't employed yet, or it may be that you have numerous children, or it may be that you are a sibling of a Taiwanese born resident or of a Taiwanese resident, but you've been living in another country, or you're just born in another country. There are different criteria to follow through on this. And if you're wondering, how does your spouse get a work permit or a visa to be able to bring you across? Well, all of these are documented basically in all the other options of the visa options. If you're thinking it's a good idea, you all want to go over to Taiwan to start a new life, I would suggest, and this is a big suggestion which I give to all of my clients which I personally work with, that one person who is able to get a job or already got a job offer goes to Taiwan or comes to Taiwan first, gets the job, gets a work permit, and then the dependents gets the job, follow that person, because you can then go on to their residency. That is an easier way than everybody in your family trying to move across at the same time, where it can be more complicated and you may not be able to get a job, or the person who's trying to get the visa or work permit in the first place may not be able to get the job. So you should have one person to go there first, get employment, get the work permit, get the residency, and then bring the dependents after.